Hello and welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I'm your host, Cesar Hernandez, and we're here to talk about Liga MX quarterfinals. We're here to talk, well, not the quarterfinals, the semifinals. See, I've just a little insight here. I came up a little late, so see, I'm all out of sorts already. But yeah, we're here to talk about the Liga MX semifinals. We're here to preview the Liga MX final and also a little bit about the Mexican national team. But before we go into that, let me first introduce our guest. Over in Guadalajara, we have Tom Marshall. Tom, how are you doing?
Not bad, Cesar, not bad. Obviously, to be honest, a bit gutted to hear what's happened in Manchester tonight.
Yeah.
You know, my home city and all, people leaving a concert. But I mean, yeah, pretty sad. But, yeah, we'll see.
No, that's really unfortunate to hear. And I know I don't know. Well, I know there's a lot of breaking news around that, and we'll see what the details are about that incident. But yeah, prayers and hopes for all those family out there. And yeah, it's unfortunate to see. But Naib, how are you doing? How was get a chance to watch any of the semifinal match? Get a chance to watch any of those games? How are you doing?
Yeah, good evening, Cesar, Tom, and of course, thoughts and prayers go to Manchester. The difficult situation for the family, especially because it's a concert where you send your kids maybe, and you don't expect that kind of stuff to happen. So thoughts and prayers go out there. And over here in Liga MX, of course. We got an exciting final upon us. Chivas is back in the final. Tigres back-to-back Liga MX finals. They're living their golden generation. Tigres over there in Monterrey. So I mean, it will be an intriguing final to see over there with Tigres and Chivas, and of course Tom will bring us all the scope from Guadalajara. No.
Yeah.
Tom, you're over there in the epicenter right now of what's going to be happening there in playoff soccer. All right, guys. So before we get into the preview for the final, or even just recapping the semifinals, I first want to bring up a question which Jason Markowitz, he created this question. It's fascinating because it's always a big talking point every time the playoffs come around. It's the Liguilla tiebreaker. With the quarterfinals and the semifinals, say if it's tied over the two legs, the first tiebreaker is away goals, and the second one is seeding. So my question for you guys is, what is your ideal Liguilla tiebreaker? Do you agree with the way it's currently set up? I know there's a special thing we have for the final, which kind of throws away that away goal rule, or do you think I don't know, maybe we could make some changes? And I'm going to go to you now. What are your thoughts right now on the current tiebreaker? What your ideal?
I do think the seeding is still important, because of giving some type of props or some way of congratulating or awarding the team that had most consistent season. So I think the seeding still has to be included into ways that we want to see this tiebreaker going on. I think I personally would like to see extra times already after the quarters, in the semis, for example, in the semis and the final. They will have more excitement into the whole deal with the matches, and then maybe keep the seeding aspects and the away goal rules and all that stuff in the quarters. And then in the semis, change it a little bit and add that extra time into it. Maybe take away, I don't know if it will be take the seeding away or whatever way you want to see it. I mean, but it's just so complicated with this league because how do you compare it? I mean, because we want to talk a little bit about a long season, but then it becomes another season in itself, the Liguilla is another season. So it just may complicate a little bit, to decide exactly what you want to see as an end product,
No, yeah. Tom.
I mean, I think I know it's probably not the question, not answering the question, but I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I just prefer a normal league, like in Spain, where there's a proper league, and you play your matches twice against each other team, and the best team comes out on top, But aside from that, I just think, I mean, I used to like the away goal because it's what's more common. But I think the more I think about it, the more the regular season standing should be the ultimate decider, because I don't know. I think even this season we saw so many of the teams over the last few weeks just drop. It was almost like they knew that the Liguilla was coming. They know that the regular season finish is obviously important, and because Chivas have gone through both the games so far, both the quarter and the semi-final on regular season standing. But it's very in the grand scheme of things, it's not very likely that you're going to finish level after 2 games on both score and away goals.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I just think the regular season should be given more emphasis, and that should be the decider. And forget the away goals. I mean, yeah.
I mean, that's how I kind of feel. I think, well, in a sense, that's how I feel. I've never really been that big of a fan of away goals. I mean, one problem that can arise is, say that you have a 0-0 draw in the first leg, and then you have a 1-1 draw in the second leg, and then and say it's a number 1 seed facing a number 8 seed, so you can have that number 8 seed like sneak in with just 1 goal and a draw. So it's just, and I'm not a big fan of that. I've never really liked that. And ideally, I think I would do away with the away goal, and if there's a draw after the aggregate, those 2 aggregate games, and I think that I would prefer to have the seeding be the tiebreaker. But that's how I feel. I don't know if that's actually going to change in the near future. We did ask a few people what their thoughts are, and some people respond on Twitter. And some of the responses here are, we have one from @Fernando_Monteo who says away goals and extra time than pens, like Champions League. We have another that says @DarthTwiggy1 who says not away goals, seeding would be better, extra times and pens too. And then VS Army LA says, by seeing which team can do like Quebradita the best. I'm a big fan of that. Let's see if we can implement that into the playoffs. Jason just chimed in right now and said that Raul Barraza, who I believe that's actually our buddy, the Colorful Kit, on the chat, he said, if you change the tiebreaker, then the regular season means even less than it does now. So that's interesting. That's interesting to note right there. But guys, let's jump into the recap of the Liguilla semifinals. Tom, I'm going to go to you on this. Talk about the Toluca versus Chivas series. We had 2 draws right there, both 1-1. And I feel like you kind of have to bring it up, especially when you look at a team like Tigres and to see the way that Chivas have gone through. You have Chivas have they been a little lucky? Are they kind of stumbling their way into the final? I don't know. What are your thoughts on Chivas right now?
Well, I think you can make both arguments. I think that some people said they're lucky in the sense that they got through. I think they deserve to get past Atlas over the 180 minutes, and I thought they were a better team against Toluca over the 180 minutes. I think they against Toluca. They were, for me, by far the better team. Now, I think if you're going to make the argument where if Chivas been lucky, I think you'd say that I think the draw favoured them. I think if you look at Tigres, who have gone past Monterrey, a really strong Monterrey, and then a Xolos side that have finished, 2 seasons now as the regular season leader, and then the Xolos are a good team. Miguel Herrera got them really well organised, got him playing, in his style. So I think Tigres have had the much harder draw, whereas Chivas really, this is a team now. What is it? One win in 8 games or something. And they're in the final. That's the the intricacies of the Liga MX system that you can have a finalist, make it to that. But I think that they were the best team over them games, and at the end of the day, they deserve to be there.
Yeah. Now, your thoughts on Chivas? Tom just said they deserve to be there, and that they haven't been in the best form. Do you agree, or do you think that I don't know, maybe that Almeida should be giving a little bit more credit, or are they really stumbling their way into this final?
It's just how the system works, doesn't it? I think there was a period of time, I think, this season where Chivas did play well, especially when they had all the players available, mainly Brizuela, Saldívar, when they were all healthy. I think there was a point in the season where Chivas excelled beyond the rest of the teams, actually. And I think that is sort of the advantage they had in the Liguilla, not finish with ties in the aggregate, allow them to push forward, to move on forward. But I think Chivas like Toluca, like Xolos, didn't arrive in the best form to the Liguilla, what am I saying here? The best team that arrived into the Liguilla was Tigres, just the hot streak and the way that they were scoring the goals. And it is a tale of 2 stories, you see Chivas is sort of in the final because they started well this season. Tigres is in the final because they ended the regular season quite amazingly. We've never seen, I don't remember a team with so much power, in the goals that they've scored and how many they have conceded. Only, I think, in the Liguilla, they've only conceded once.
Yeah,
So
I think it was against Monterrey in the first leg.
Monterrey,
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
and we see exactly from April 11, 2017, when Tigres hosted Chivas and Tigres beat Chivas 3-0, that's when this amazing streak started. And it's just been amazing watching it. But it tells you, I mean, I think Chivas has had a great season. You know, I wouldn't say an impeccable season, but it's a good enough season to get you into the final, no?
Well, yeah, and I think the other thing, I mean, that all that has coincided with Chivas' injuries. And I know, you know, if you're talking about luck, and I think Chivas have been extremely unlucky to get some, you know, big players that are injured. I mean, they were playing really well when Isaac Brizuela was finding some great form, you know, before Sambuesa took him out. You know, and Pizarro was finding his feet when he got injured, and he's back now, which is a boost. But Zaldivar was such a key figure going forward. You know, Jair Pereira was the leader of the defense there. And it's like you take those pieces out, and I think it's natural that Chivas have dipped. You know, I don't think it's necessarily, you know, that like other teams have just decided, you know, they were already in the Liguilla and they dipped in form. I think Chivas, they had the cup run, so they had a game every midweek, weekend, and then mixed in with there, they had the injuries, and I think it's entirely natural. And I think in some ways now you look to the final, and yeah, obviously the form, everything with Tigres, but this is a final, and I think if there's one thing that you can say about Chivas, I mean, don't get me wrong, the quality team, there's a lot of quality in this Chivas team. They spent big money. No, it's not just Tigres that have spent big money, but there's fight in this Chivas team. I think for the first time, really, since I've been in Guadalajara, maybe with the exception of the 2010 Copa Libertadores team, there's a team now for Chivas fans to be proud of. I think Chivas fans watch the team and they're proud of them. You know, they might lose the final against Tigres, but they won't go down without fighting. They'll battle to the very last minute, and I think that's the spirit of the Chivas team, and that's why I think fans are now, you know, backing the team 100%, and the atmosphere is amazing in Guadalajara right now.
All right, Tom, talk about the injury, because that has been a big talking point, like a massive talking point about Chivas and why they have actually struggled a little bit in the past few matches. Are there any updates regarding the injuries? Because those injury problems have extended clearly into the playoffs. Anything else? You mentioned a couple of the players there, but anything else that fans should know heading into the first leg on Thursday?
Yeah, I think Carlos Salcido came off with a back injury, but he looks to be fine. He was training today, and that's highly surprising because he's like 48, and when you have back complaints at that age, you don't usually recover by the next day. But so I think Salcido's going to be back, and he was brilliant against Toluca. Led the team, led the back line. Almeida, after the game, said that they should build a statue of him. Basically, he said he's one of the best players Mexico's ever produced, which I agree with. I think he's one of Mexico's best ever players, Salcido, even though he is getting on now. And then Pereira, I don't think he's going to make it. He's not going to be too far away from the second leg, but it's a risk to throw him in after being out for a couple of weeks. Then who else we got? I think Angel Zaldivar's out. I mean, I don't think I've seen that official, but you know, he came on the pitch as a sub, came off, and just his injury just looked like he's pulled a muscle again, and you know, I think he's definitely out. Fierro's another big one. I've not heard so far about Fierro, but I think he'd be a massive loss. Apart from that, I think Cisneros still out, and Brizuela's still out. So the injury problems are still there.
Yeah,
it's the injury problems, and one thing to highlight, I think that, you know, we have mentioned it here in the show is the fact that Chofis Lopez hasn't been able to step up, you know, to the moment, because right now we're listing the injuries and how amazing it would be for Chivas to have a Chofis Lopez that is focused, that is dedicated, that produces, whether it's an assist or a goal, and Chivas doesn't have that, and it would be massive to have that type of advantage, I would say, against a team like Tigres, to have another option up front, because right now, how it looks, I mean, you got Rodolfo Pizarro, who's coming off an injury, and we don't know exactly if he's 100% yet, because he keeps saying, no, I'm 80%, then I'm 90%. Well, it looks like he's all right now, but he seems like your main source in the attack, because even Pulido has been moved to the midfield and sort of attacking a little bit, coming from behind, sort of an attacker, because Fierro was in the middle yesterday. So all of these changes are sort of making it difficult for Chivas to get those victories, you know, and most important to get those goals, you know, which are going to be, that's what makes a difference, you know, in the final, the goals.
Well, guys, before we get too much in the Chivas talk, I know because I had my own thoughts about trophies as well. Let's look at the other semifinal, because we're gonna have time later on the show to really dive into Chivas, not only just Chivas but also Tigres too. But let's dive into the other semifinal series. Semifinal series where Xolos couldn't get a single goal. Tigres dominated both the matches. They won 2-0 the first leg. They won 2-0 the second leg, which I saw over here in the Estado Caliente, Tijuana. And we're gonna go over to you, Naive, on this. This is a Tigres side that's just charging for the playoffs. I mean, you talked about that earlier. They're really finding that momentum, that rhythm in this Liguilla. Can you find any weak points? Is there anything that Chivas can look at, that Almeida can look at and say, like, this is something that we're going to have to focus on, that we could really take advantage of from the Tigres side?
It's difficult, when you look at what this team has created. They're a monster right now. They're a monster has been unleashed, that woke up after that win again, like I mentioned earlier in the show, against Chivas. That's what woke up the beast. Once they won 3-0, they've gone to win all the games and only lost once. A Clásico Regio over there in BBVA Bancomer. So I don't see that many weaknesses right now. I mean, because if you think about it, Aquino scored twice in the semifinals. Dueña scored twice in the quarterfinals. So they're not. It's not just about Gignac here, because you would think, oh, it's just Gignac scoring the goals and blah blah. Look, this is a team that's leaving Dam and Eduardo Vargas on the bench because they don't need them. With what you have available in the starting 11, that's working out perfectly. They're getting the results. They're getting wins. We're talking about they demolish, the second seed, and then they demolish the first seed. No, it's just mesmerizing to watch. I mean, it's what you expect out of this team, and it's not just about the attack; it's about the defense as well. Yeah. With Chaca Rodriguez, I think, being a revelation in this Liguilla. No one saw Chaca coming up as a big figure here, and Chaca Rodriguez being a star in a team where you have Dueñas, Pizarro, Gignac, Celarayán. I mean, it tells you a little bit of how great the team is playing right now. And the weaknesses, I mean, I just don't see it unless they have a really bad day, like they did against Pachuca in the Conca Champions. But a lot of things have to work in favor for Chivas. It seems like a miracle. They need miracles in order to beat this team.
I feel like the only thing that people talk about right now with Eduardo Vargas is when Tuca and Piojo gave each other that hug, and there's that awesome video which you guys should find where Eduardo Vargas was making the motion like they're stab each other in the back. I think that's the only thing I've seen about Eduardo Vargas in recent days. But Tom, your thoughts? I mean, are there any weak points of this Tigres roster? Is there anything that you think? I mean, you've been watching Chivas all season, that Chivas can do, that Almeida can do to stop Tigres?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think people have got results against Tigres, specifically in Estadio Universitario, by sitting back, reducing as much space as possible between the lines, defensive midfield, and hitting on the counter, and just trying to stop them basically play. And the thing is, I don't think Tigres is a team. Chivas is a team that's going to do that. I think Chivas' DNA is to go out and take the game to the opposition. So I'm fascinated to see what Almeida does. Let's not forget that in the first leg in Toluca, he played two holding midfielders. He definitely was thinking about, he's not kind of this kind of Bielsa figure who goes all out. This is how we're going to play. We're going to take the game absolutely everywhere. He has got a bit more pragmatism to him. I think we saw that against Toluca. And I think Fierro will play up front again as a central striker, because I think what Almeida was trying to do against Toluca was isolate Fierro against Paulo da Silva, because Paulo da Silva is very slow. I mean, he's incredibly slow, da Silva. He's very good on the ball, but he's like a walking pace when he runs. But and I don't think Tigres are fast. The two centre backs are fast. I think Hugo Ayala has had a brilliant season, but not the quickest centre back. And then if you can isolate Juninho, and I think that was the idea behind putting Fierro right up front. And I think Almeida will do that again. You look down the wings. I think obviously Pizarro's going to be there. I think he's got a good chance. Torres Nilo's back for Tigres in full training, but who's the left back? Acosta.
Acosta,
I mean, I know he's played well. I don't think he's a great player. I think if Pizarro can have some luck down there, down the right flank if he plays there, or down the left, or whichever side he plays. But I'd definitely stick Pizarro on Acosta if Acosta's playing. And then down the other side, I mean, I think it's going to be a real battle of the wings as well, because if you look at both teams like to push the fullbacks fairly high. Chivas more than Tigres. But I think that's going to be an important battleground. And I don't think this Tigres team is unbeatable by any stretch of the imagination. Are they favourites going into this game? Yeah, but Pachuca, like Naib said brilliantly there. I mean, that is the template. Over two legs. That is how you beat Tigres.
I think the problem with what Pachuca did is that like not every side has an Oscar Murillo or an Omar Gonzalez.
Yeah,
and I think that was a big difference maker.
We also got to note that when that series, Cesar, Tom, actually Manny Garcia on the left, and then Deditos Lopez on the right actually did well. They were really, it was really strong there on the right side. How Deditos and also Urreta Vizcaya defended. Urreta Vizcaya was more of a defender than a midfielder actually, and I think it was really tight, those two lines of four, the defenders and the midfielders. Burrito Hernandez, I think that's where he got the call up, basically, the call up to the national team. I think that's where Burrito Hernandez proved to Osorio, hey, man, look at me. I just stopped Guido Pizarro and Dueñas, which are the two key members here with Tigres. I think what Dueñas have done in this Liguilla has been impressive, and it has raised the questions as to, if this guy is doing so well, this guy could be in the Confederations and could be a starter, but it's taking a little bit far away. But that's how good he's been. But like Tom says, Tigres is not unbeatable. They're a team that you can beat. The thing is that their momentum is so amazing right now that it's like, how the heck are you gonna stop this momentum? Because it's just the goals are just raining. I mean, it's just like they're making it look so easy, and they didn't make it easy against any type of opponent. They made it look easy against Xolos and Monterrey.
Yeah. So from the chat, really quickly, Samuel Jimenez, just a little bit of like going off of what Tom said a little bit there. He said, Samuel Jimenez said, Tigres is a strong team, offensively and defensively, but when I see Ayala and Juninho, I still see a bit of weakness there. And I think I wonder if he's talked a little bit there, maybe Tom, what you talked maybe about that pace there. That's maybe something that Chivas can utilize. And I guess we might as well jump into it. I mean, looking here at our guideline for today's podcast, we're already jumping into the finals preview. So let's just jump straight into it. And Tom, I'm gonna ask you this, just because this is something that's on my mind right now. I feel like when I wrote about Tigres, I've always said that the best way, I think in my personal opinion, if you don't have an Oscar Murillo and Omar Gonzalez, the best way to defend against them is to just throw numbers back. You have that 5-man back line. Xolos tried that, but then we saw Juan Carlos Valenzuela got injured. He couldn't do that. And I've always thought that they can thrive when they have a lot of space, when they have teams that are stretched out. Do you think that might go against a side like Chivas, a side with Almeida, where his go-to strategy is to defend? Do you think there's a potential where we might see more goals than expected? Because that's part of Chivas' DNA, where they don't defend, they go out and attack, and that's something that Tigres might go for.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one for Almeida, and he'll be thinking long and hard about how to approach this game. I don't think Chivas are going to play with a 3-man defense. I mean, I don't think they've got the centre backs at the minute, to be honest. I mean, are you going to put Basulto or it's just not going to happen. I mean, it's just not going to happen. They haven't got the centre backs. You've got Salcido and you've got Alanis, and I think that's it. So yeah, I mean, Tigres have the potential to not just score 1 goal, but 2-3 goals, and then you look at the other side, and it's like Chivas haven't scored 2 goals in a game. Is it 2 goals? Yeah, 2 goals, no, or 3 goals. I think since like April.
Yeah. I think so.
What is it? I can't remember now, but yeah, they've not been scoring goals. I think they've scored 3 goals in the 4 Liguilla games to get to the final. Being able to, to score. So it's kind of both things. I mean, one, Chivas have got to worry about stopping Tigres and concern themselves with that, and then on the other hand, they've got to find a way of actually, scoring goals. And I know
scoring goals on open play, Tom. I mean, I think that's something to mention, because in the Liguilla, 2 of the 3 goals came off free kicks or corner kicks, and the only open play goal was the one that Rodolfo scored over there in Toluca.
Which was a gift. Yeah. I mean, no, it is a problem, and I think that maybe we can dive back into the to the conversation about Chofis, because I mean, you know, there's been a lot of talk about Chofis Lopez over the last couple of years. Even before Almeida stepped in, Almeida comes in to Chivas and he says, you know what, there's this kid who's special here, you know, and you know he looked like a number 10, like that typical Argentine number 10 who can dictate play, who can make that magic happen, put the through balls. And Chofis have got all that as part of his arsenal. He's got all that. His vision is brilliant. He's got a great shot from distance. He can make things happen for your team, but he just isn't. He hasn't turned it on consistently, and this is the problem. I think Chivas have needed Chofis, and I think they'll need him in this final. I don't think Chivas are creating loads of chances. I don't think it's like the strikers just aren't finishing. I think that's too easy an explanation. I think Almeida's given that explanation quite a lot, but I don't think Chivas are creating really good chances enough. And I think that's one of the reasons. I don't think there's that kind of brains of the team. I'd almost be tempted to put Pizarro in this final. Just play Pulido up front and play Pizarro behind Pulido. And then with, you know, Orbelina, even put Orbelina out wide, or, I don't know, just mix it up a bit. But to have somebody there, like a Pizarro figure, who can get hold of the ball and control it, because Tigres have a lot of the ball when you play them. And I think when Chivas get the ball, they're going to have to be really efficient with it.
No, I agree, and I think that I agree with Chofis. I think that, like you said, that was someone who I thought, you know, I really hyped him up. I thought that he had a lot of potential there, but clearly within the, past several games, I guess it's just there isn't really much to say about him other than just a lot of disappointment. You see that from a lot of Chivas fans online too.
I think the last moment of genius we saw from Chofis, I think, came in the cup. I think there was one game against a second division club, and he scored that amazing goal.
Yeah,
I think that's the last time we heard something significant from Chofis, and it's unfortunate, you know, because this was a real good moment for him. You know, I think he should understand that this is a moment when the team really needed him, you know, or needs him, because they're still alive and they're still in the final, in that possibility, you know. And also we haven't mentioned, Cisneros has been out the whole season practically, but Cisneros is another important, I think, offensive option in the Almeida era, you know, that he kind of brought in. And I think here it just raises a question, you know, with the mentality of certain players, you know, they got the talent, the natural talent is there, but it's that mentality, you know. You see, I wish Chofis had the mentality that Pizarro and Orbelin have, for example, because you can tell right away they're great players, but they also have that strong mentality that allows them to excel. You know, and I think another thing, let's not forget, against Toluca, the 2 goals over the 2 legs that they conceded were because of defensive errors. You can't have those defensive errors against Tigres, because they're going to make you pay right away.
And we saw that with especially in that first leg, I think, of the semifinal series between Xolos and Tigres. I thought Xolos did a decent job. I'm not going to say an excellent job, but just really holding Tigres away from finding a goal. Even after that injury to Juan Carlos Valenzuela, I think they did a decent job. And then there's just one small mistake in the first half. Boom, goal. Second, and then like just minutes later, just boom, another goal. And that was enough. They didn't need anything more in that series. It was just that small little space of time. And you can't allow those kinds of defensive mistakes against Tigres. So that's definitely interesting to see. And really quickly, Jason just put on the chat, and that's just something that's probably also worth chatting about too. It's just, you know, he said Pulido should have plenty of motivation to score in this particular opponent. Obviously, you know, this is a side that he has a little bit of a connection to. Tom, do you want to, I'm sure everyone knows, but just a little bit of a reminder why, you know, Pulido has this connection to this club.
Yeah, well, he came through the club, and obviously he made a big impact when he made the first team, and then obviously left with this massive contractual dispute, and there's and Tigres basically didn't want him to come back to Mexico, and then Chivas had to do a deal with Tigres. It was all complicated, but yeah, Pulido, I think, is a key figure. I think he's gonna have to be massive. He scored 1 goal since March the 19th. Let's put that in perspective. Well, we're now May, so that in 2 months he scored 1 goal. Your central striker, who, you know, when you're in the final of the Liga MX, I think we could have expected more from Pulido. To be fair to him, like Naib was saying, he has been dropping back a little bit more, and he's been doing a lot of work. You know, he's been tracking back and stuff. So I don't know, but I think going into this final, he's massive. I feel like he's gonna have to score a goal if Tigres are gonna I mean, if Chivas are gonna win this, I mean, you buy your central striker to score goals, and I think that that's what he's got to be doing in the final. And yeah, he'll be 100% motivated. We know he still loves Tigres. We know he's still got a connection with the Tigres fans. So yeah, I think it's a really good, really interesting angle in this final. What will Pulido do? And if he scores, will he celebrate, or what will he do? I mean, I'm sure he will.
I think Tom nailed it when he said something along the lines that Pizarro should play behind Pulido. I think I like what Pulido has been doing. I mean, that shows a lot of maturity and a lot of sacrifice for him to move back and move the ball around. But I think you're a striker, and Chivas needs goals. They need to keep him in the box, or in that area, and find ways. There's still hours left before the first leg. Find ways to feed Pulido. And Tom said something interesting there with Orbelin. If you put Michael Perez and Gallito in the midfield, or those two, that allows Orbelin to participate more in the attack. And he actually did. Against Toluca, he had an option that was wide open, and there was the bounce kind of messed him up. It shows you that the guy can play in that area. And I think you need to find weapons. You need to find resources, because they're so scarce, because as we mentioned, Chofis is not at the level that we wish he was. So I think that means that Orbelin must attack in order for Chivas to have some type of attacking spark that can intimidate Tigres' defense.
One thing I want to bring up is because right now a lot of our conversation, and for obvious reasons, when you look at the form that Tigres are in, when you look at the amount of wins that Tigres are getting, a lot of our conversation is how Chivas are going to need to change, how they're going to have to step up to the occasion and take on Tigres. And I'm going to go to you on this, Naive. I mean, this is part of our game plan right now, but I just think about this. Is there any part of Tuca's game plan that he's going to have to change going up against a side like Chivas? Or do you think he should just keep on keeping on, keep playing Tuca ball, keep playing his heavy possession, conservative style? Or do you think there's maybe something he should change a little bit against his Chivas side?
No, but I think what's been interesting with Tuca is that he sort of played around with the back line of 4 and the back line of 5, and he has used the back line of 5 in his both away games, which, by the way, Tigres didn't concede in those 2 away games against Monterrey and against Tijuana, which speaks volumes of how good they are right now. So I think what they're gonna do is just go at it. I mean, I think one of the main lessons they learned against Pachuca is sort of they really didn't seize the opportunity in it, and it's kind of what another thing to keep in mind, sort of an intangible, because the final they lost against River Plate in the Copa Libertadores, the final they lost against America in the Conca Champions, the final they lost against Pachuca, they lost because they couldn't take advantage of their home field, and El Volcán they didn't win. So that's one of the biggest lessons here. They've learned over 3 games already. If they don't win against Chivas, they're going to leave Chivas alive. And Chivas knows that they can win in Estadio Chivas. So here, I think they have to go all out. I think they're still going to keep the same 11. I mean, I think Tuca loves consistency, so I don't see changes in the 11. Perhaps, as Tom mentioned, the addition of Torres Nilo might happen. But Torres Nilo really doesn't offer you anything in the attack. He's just going to stay in the back mainly. I mean, his crosses are awful for the most part for Torres Nilo. But he can be a stronghold over there in the defense, and would allow someone like Chaka to move more on the wing and attack more in the right. So that I think might be the only change he might do, just add in Torres Nilo. But, I think they have to win that one in El Volcán. And they already didn't. They didn't win against River Plate. They didn't win against America. They didn't win against Pachuca, and they lost those 3 finals. Let's not forget.
Yeah. Speaking of, I mean, just not being able to, get those wins at home. Tom, do you have any worries for Chivas? Because at least in their past few games, Chivas only have 1 win at home. Do you think that's something to worry about, or that's just kind of that's somewhat of a coincidence?
At home or
at home within the past 4 matches?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything particularly about the home. I think the fans are really getting behind the team. I don't think that's a problem. I think it's overall. I mean, I think it's both home and away. I think it's the same problem that Chivas have encountered. They've just not been able to create enough chances and then score enough goals. And yeah, it's problematic. But I mean, this is the real test now. I mean, if Chivas just bumbled the way to the final and gone past two teams that were out of form and weren't even that great anyway, or is Chivas the real thing? And is it even fair to suggest that this is the real test, considering the injuries that Chivas have? But like you look at this Tigres team and you think that they'll be pretty excited to play this final. I mean, I think that they've got every. I mean, it's difficult under normal circumstances. Difficult to find a way for Chivas to win this. I say normal circumstances. You never know. Chivas could play brilliantly at the back. Tigres doesn't score. Red cards can happen. Anything can happen over the 180 minutes. But I don't know. It's a lot of things have to come right for Chivas over these 180 minutes, because they've not defeated Atlas or Toluca over the 180 minutes. Let's not forget that.
Yeah,
and it's been drawing both the games. They're going to have to win this one, because in the final the regular season standings don't count.
All right, guys. So to wrap things up, I just want to hear predictions. Give me your prediction. I want to hear a prediction for. Well, let's make things. Let's make it a little interesting. Let's hear the prediction for the first leg and second leg and just overall. So, Naib, what are your predictions for this series?
Oh, man.
First leg, second leg. I don't know if I'm asking for too much here. I probably am.
You probably are. We'll do it. We'll do it the way that you're hosting.
Let's do it.
So I think the first leg would be a 2-1 for Tigres. A 2-1. And then I reckon it'll be a 0-0 at Estadio Chivas. So Tigres wins 2-1.
All right.
We'll see Tuca ball over there on Sunday.
Tuca ball on Sunday. All right, Tom.
Yeah, I'll go 1-0 Tigres on Thursday, and then 1-1 in Estadio Chivas, and Tigres to win.
All right. I'll go with. All right, what's my prediction? I'm gonna say first leg is gonna go 2-1 for Tigres, and then the second leg is gonna be. I'm gonna go with the 0-0 actually in the second leg, and then Tigres sneak on by. All right, guys, let's.
Just a quick one on the final point on the final. I think that another interesting aspect here is that we know that Tigres are kind of marking a kind of era in Mexican football here. With the signings that have come in, with Vargas, with Gignac, with and the Mexican players as well, Dueñas, Dam, Ayala, and on and on. But I think as well from the Chivas point of view, this team that plays with all Mexicans and the youngest team in the league as well. I think this is a massive opportunity for some of these Chivas players to, with regards to the national team, and specifically looking at the likes of Pizarro and Orbelin Pineda. I just feel like all eyes are on them right now. They're at the age now where they're on the cusp of, just becoming mature players. I mean, these are the kind of the games where players really mature and make names for themselves. And I just think it's a fascinating kind of side. What can these younger players do on this occasion with this pressure? And I think looking towards the Mexican national team, I can't wait to see how Orbelin Pineda plays. I can't wait to see how Pizarro plays, because I think both those players have got big potential moving down the line to be regulars for the national team. But these are the occasions, these are the stages where you start to see the personalities, the real personalities come through and what they could bring in the future.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. Obviously, because of the team's the all-Mexican roster, and especially with you have a tournament like the Gold Cup coming up too. A lot of these players who will be fighting for position in that tournament. So I think that'll be fascinating to see. So let's see.
Definitely, but I just think for me, all right, the Gold Cup is going to be good, and we're going to see the players. But you look at the level of the opposition, and they're nowhere near as good as Tigres. That's why I think this specific game against Tigres and being in the final it's a real litmus test to see where these players are at. How ready are they to step up for the national team? I'm not saying they're ready right now, but it's just going to be a great test to see where they're at. And even if in the Gold Cup they could score 7 goals each, but I mean it's not quite the same. You know what I mean? When you're playing against Guatemala.
And of course Guatemala. But like here, Tom, what I'm really we have to point out with Pizarro is that how quickly he just adapted. I mean, I know Pachuca, he won the title over there with Pachuca, the league title in 2016, but it's not the same. No, you come to Chivas, you're the star player, you score goals, then you injure yourself, you come back in the Liguilla, and you make the difference. I mean, I think it's really remarkable to see how quickly he did it. And Orbelin did it as well. Orbelin, I remember right away in the Liguilla and the quarters against America over here at Estadio Azteca, he scored a goal right away. So these are players that are not your typical Mexican players that are sort of tend to get a little when it's the big moment. They tend to shine in the big moments. This is the biggest moment, I think, in their careers, even bigger than the games that they played already in the national team. Of course, youth level. But this is like you said, a big test. And the investment that Chivas made for them was significant as well. And we're talking about players that were really on the market that were expensive, but they are giving results, and they have Chivas in another final.
So just to wrap things up on this preview, you guys are saying that Tigres are a more daunting side than the really, really scary national team of Martinique that they could potentially run into the Gold Cup, is what you guys are saying. Is
Close.
maybe close. All right, guys, let's before we leave Liga MX, before we talk about maybe some national team stuff, maybe a little bit on the Liga MX Owners meeting, let's first talk about some of the teams that we left in the semis. Let's first talk about Toluca. This is a Toluca side. They have been knocked out 5 out of the last 8 seasons in the semifinal round. They even left. I feel like that was part of the reason they left Cardoso too. It's just like they wanted to seek something that would sneak past that. Once again, it has happened again. And what does this team need to do? And I'll go to Naive on this team. What does Toluca need to do to go back to their winning ways? Go back to somehow sneaking past that semifinal round, which has been really daunting for them. I've said daunting twice in the past few minutes. But yeah,
It's a daunting question.
It is a daunting question.
No, I think there was a lot of factors going in with Toluca. I mean, I think they're probably they were the oldest squad in the league. So I think they got tired towards the end of the season after starting off well, and finishing right up there on the table among the big ones. But I just think that the team just needs renovation, maybe the right pick of players that they really don't understand what it means to play for Toluca, because
the stadium's been renovated.
The stadium will get renovated, but I think the squad needs a little bit of renovation. The fact that they still have Paulo da Silva as your center back, and then Sinha was still a fundamental part of the team, does a little bit that I think it needs refreshing. And not any player can be well in Toluca. I mean, I think the cases of Vicente Sanchez and Saturnino Cardoso, when they were players, I mean, those players were amazing. They just ran over every single team in the league. And nowadays, you don't see that with Toluca. I mean, I think those are players that really don't lack that much character. So I think in the offices, I think they got to make a bigger move on what type of player they bring into the club. Nonetheless, I mean, they're always going to be a tough team to beat because historically, they've been there. I mean, but of course, all these semifinals and getting eliminated in the semifinals. I mean, the way they lost to Chivas was pretty sad, no? I mean,
I didn't think they put any pressure on Chivas. I didn't feel like. I thought Chivas were going to get ridiculously nervous, and I thought Toluca could possibly get one, but then the minutes just kept going by, and Toluca were just like kind of messing around. I mean, I think they're such a slow team. There's such a lack of pace in the team and a lack of width. And I completely agree with Naive. I think it's time to renovate. I mean, I'm not saying Talavera needs to go, but he's 34. And then you've got Paulo de Silva, like I said, he's so slow, and it's time for change. I want to see a Toluca team that's exciting. I mean, I know they've reached the semi-final, and Cristante, does deserve credit for that. But I don't know, it's just Toluca all season have been a team that I've watched. I think I've seen them 2-3 times live. I might have been mistaken, at least twice. And I just don't get it. I just don't get how they've done so well. I mean, they've got a few good players, don't get me wrong, but they're just kind of a boring team. And I want to, I don't know, they don't excite me in any way. This Toluca team this season hasn't excited me.
I feel like they have a little bit of an underrated attack. It's not like there's really exciting names, but names like Barrientos, then you have like Auche. These aren't guys who are going to be like selling tickets, but they're still decent players. But I can see why they've made it to the semifinals, even though I myself stated that they were gonna win the title. But that was when it comes to Liga MX standards, that was like 4 years ago. So
yeah, I think just a quick word on Sinha. I mean, absolutely, Liga MX legend. I mean, it's difficult for another senior to come out like that. It's difficult, and the way he's played, so many games for the one club as well in Toluca. is it's amazing. It's you want to see that more around the league as well. Teams and the fan base relating to a player so much.
Yeah, and Sinha did a lot actually, because during his time in Querétaro, he was a big mentor for Orbelín Pineda. And look how Orbelín Pineda has turned as a football player, his career. Sinha was a big influence in how Orbelín shaped his career, when he was 18 years old and stuff. And no one knew who Orbelín Pineda was. But Sinha, I think props to him. I mean, he's a good mentor, and I think a really great professional in that sense, that, great example for the players, always dedicated. He's also known in Mexico for saying that, over here in Mexico, it doesn't matter what your passport is, as long as you're good. If you're good, you're gonna play. And Sinha always said that. So I mean, I think he's a player that left a mark. Played for the national team, played in the World Cup, scored in the World Cup. I remember against Iran, if I'm not mistaken, 2006. So it was a header. I think I remember a header from Sinha. So I mean, all these great memories that a Brazilian Mexican has left in the league.
Yeah, and he was able to do that until what? He was 40? I think 40 is how old he was. So that's definitely incredible what Sinha has done. All right, guys, let's talk about really quickly about before we wrap up with a couple other topics. Let's talk about Xolos. I'm going to go over to Naive on this. How much opportunity do you think there was lost here for Xolos? This is a team that finished first the previous season, got knocked out in the quarterfinal round, finished first this season again. I had an even more thrilling attack after some players were missing, and then they got knocked out in the semifinal round. Was this a big opportunity missed, especially when it looks like Piojo is more than likely is going to leave this summer?
Yeah. I think I'll be interested to hear what you say, Cesar, because you follow the team day to day. But from the outside, it's a team that really, we're talking about a team that was finished on top of the table, but also was the best offense. And that was really lacking throughout the Liguilla. They sort of shut down. It was pretty obvious there. And of course, the star player Avilés Hurtado, who, of course, he had phenomenal performances. He probably scored the goal of the season with that Chilena over there at Estadio Jalisco. This is a guy that sort of shut down in the Liguilla. And of course, he probably had an injury, after the first leg against Tigres. Maybe that affected him in the second leg. But we didn't see him influence the game that much. He got shut down easily, and for the player of his caliber, he's probably going to get, supposedly he's heading to Rayados. I mean, that's the rumor that Rayados going to unload the cash for him. We're talking about players that's really expensive, and that you expecting more from him. And I think it was really obvious that Xolos' attack just didn't look sharp in the league. And if that happened, everything got ruined, in my opinion, I think. And of course, the injuries too. The Topo Valenzuela was a huge blow for the team.
Yeah, I think there was a small chance that Xolos could have gotten past Tigres. It's not to say there was a good chance. There's a small chance. But that was all ruined in the first leg after that Topo injury. And in that second leg, I was like, maybe there's something a little bit there that could have happened. But Guido Rodriguez got that red. Honestly, I thought he should have been sent off in that first half. He was poor. He was quite bad. And after he got that red, I think the series is completely over. And I think that's something, just really quickly, where did Xolos go from here? I think that's something that they're going to have to figure out over the summer because, I mean, as I mentioned, it looks all signs showing. I mean, Piojo earlier today said he's now open to offers from Club America. That's just what he said earlier today. So it's just, all signs point to him leaving this summer. And it looks like more than likely, I mean, Aviles might go, Guido Rodriguez might go. I know Guido Rodriguez got that red, but he's a very, very important player. He's a good enough player that got the attention of the Argentine national team recently, and he's going to be getting that call up. So there's a decent chance that Xolos are going to have to, I guess they're going to have to rebuild, and that's why I personally think that this was an opportunity lost for them, and I think it'd be interesting to see where the team goes from here, who that signing could be, especially in that. I think what I'm most worried about actually is everyone keeps talking about Aviles, but I'm more worried about that defensive midfield position that Guido Rodriguez really just took charge of, and I think he could arguably would have been the player of the season for that job, which I feel like a lot of people recognize, but I feel like some people didn't recognize how exceptional the defensive midfielder he was.
No, yeah. I mean, this is the thing with Xolos, and I think it's a bit sad if you're a Tijuana fan, is that they won the title and, Antonio Mohamed left. I mean, I think after the Libertadores, no?
Yeah.
It's like and then you over the next few years you just saw the gradual dismantling of that team, and they did absolutely nothing in that. I don't think they even reached a playoff. And then Piojo comes in, and they've been brilliant this not just this season but last season as well. I mean, to finish back-to-back seasons in first position, that's how in Europe that wins you the league. It's only just Mexico's different that it doesn't. But what's going to happen now? Like you said, Herrera goes, and then Hurtado's going to probably go. Guido Rodriguez might go, and then you're back to square one. And I just think that I just think it's a shame for Xolos, and if they want to be that consistently competitive club, which I think the fan base deserves, the
fan base,
the region deserves, then at some point you're gonna have to get a manager who wants to be there 100% and isn't going to have his head turned when Monterrey or Club America come in. I mean, it's easier said than done, but I mean, I think Tijuana's got a setup that could be really good for a manager long term.
Yeah. I mean, and that's that challenge of picking the right man for the job, because I remember when they brought in Cesar Farias, who was sort of unknown to the league, and not knowing the details of how it works out. Sometimes that's going to work out, sometimes it doesn't. It really requires a lot of patience and really the right man for the job to understand where the club is positioned at, because I think Xolos is a team that is really dynamic in the sense that we're talking about a team that kind of represents two countries at the same time, and I think, you're going to maximize that aspect, but you got to bring in the right players and like Tom says, extend the project, not make it so short, because by the looks of it, it's over. It's like this is all starting all over again. Maybe Paul Arriola stays, Joe Corona stays, but the guys that sort of put you back into the map, into the map of important clubs in Mexico are gonna leave. And it started with Dairo Moreno, now it's Avilés, now it's Guido Rodriguez. So it complicates a lot, and now we'll see what happens with Piojo over there in America.
Yeah. Well, guys, as much as I'd love to continue to talk about Xolos, especially since I follow them every day over here, we have to bring up a little bit of bigger news from earlier today with the Liga MX Owners meeting that happened earlier today. We got a little bit of updates regarding changes to the 10-8 rule. We got some updates about Liga MX Femenil. Tom, so we're going to go to you on this. Like anything, any highlights from that? Anything that maybe some fans should know about that's a little bit important regarding the league?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the 10-8 rule is now going to be a 9-9 rule, so you have to have 9 homegrown players in the 18-man squad. So it's a minimal change. I don't really know what the point is, to be honest. I mean, once you've set the rule, I mean, you either like the rule or you don't like the rule.
Sort of like something that they did. They were like, "Oh, we need stuff to say," so it looks like we're actually changing stuff and then
making progress. Making progress. That 10 is now a 9. No, we're back to single digits.
Yeah, and then obviously the women's league is going to get underway. I think late July, which is major positive. The Apertura is going to get underway. 16 teams. Puebla's not going to be in. We don't know what's going on with Puebla, and Lobos Buap isn't going to be in until the season after. But Puebla, obviously, there's this rumor that there's potential buyout. They didn't give any details on that, and in Bonilla, the Liga MX president, said that Puebla is going to stay right where it is, which is I don't know. It sounds funny when you say it out loud, but in Mexico, these things are important because teams can move at any moment. But so you'll have 2 teams in Naib's parent state.
Yeah, over there, the hometown. To have 2 clubs. I mean, I still, it's been a couple of hours to sort of soak that in. And I mean, but the thing,
figure out what jersey you want to buy. Like, I get this.
We'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, we can extend a little bit on that and let Tom keep saying the updates on the meeting.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I was disappointed. I thought there was going to be more to it, to be honest. I thought there might be something about the MLS Liga MX. I thought relegation might be in the table. We know that that's something that these owners have been discussing. I mean, is the relegation system going to change? So, but he did say, Bonilla did say, look, we're discussing kind of the I don't know, I can't remember the wording, but it was like the system, the competition, how it should be working, and we'll come out future date and talk about that. So I think there's more things going on in the background, but they don't want to rush it, which is quite good, because I think last season with the 10-8 rule, they just completely rushed it. You know what I mean? And I think that it's better for them not to announce too much without having actually thought about it properly.
Yeah, I think I feel when I was looking through all the news and whatnot, I felt like, yeah, just like you said, Tom, it's a lot of stuff like behind the scenes are apparently happening. But other than that, we just got a lot of dates. Just like, this is starting then, that's starting then, this is starting then, yeah.
And real quick with Puebla and what's going on there, I mean, the thing I'm a little bit disappointed with Puebla FC, is that the Chargois are still part of Liga MX. You know, they saw Chiapas get relegated, so I thought, oh, well, the Chargois are going to leave finally. And now they're going to stay in Puebla. So it makes me think that Puebla is going to be the new Chiapas. You know, and it just, I don't see how they are allowing these people that have had so many problems still be part of the Liga MX owner group. You know, it just tells you a little bit about the league, how it works, no?
Yeah, I mean, Fidel Curry as well, the Veracruz owner. He's
running for he's already running for something over there in Veracruz, I think I've seen.
Yeah, I think he's going for to be the mayor of Veracruz. But he's like, it seems to be, you know, that he's using the club as a political pawn, basically. I mean, his slogan for his campaign is Veracruz de Primera, you know, which the obvious assumption in Spanish is Veracruz in first division. Like, you know, people in Veracruz will relate that. But he's using that in his campaign because obviously Veracruz avoided relegation. He's been using the like kind of shark, the red shark, the Tiburones Rojos. He's been using those in his. I don't know. It just seems like I don't think he turned up to the meeting today. Is that right? I don't think
was he not on the list? I
think he was on the list. Yeah,
he was on the list, but I'm pretty sure he didn't turn up. I need to check that out. But
I think sure Vergara didn't turn up, didn't he? I think
no, but he sent Higuera, so it's like okay, you represent it. But I don't think Veracruz had anyone there, which is, you know, it's another issue with the league. You've still got these owners that are like, you know, they're putting the league backwards. You know what I mean? They're taking it down basically.
Yeah, and real quick with Lobos WAP, the new team on the block. I think what is going to be interesting to see with this team is how their sort of idea of project, their long-term vision, because this is a team that won the Ascenso MX with a Mexican team like Chivas. You know, there was only one foreigner in the whole squad, and I think, I don't know if he played, but the starting 11 was all Mexican. Rafa Puente, young Mexican coach that, you know, was an analyst in Fútbol Picante, and all of a sudden,
telenovela, no?
He started in telenovelas as well. You know, he wanted to try that out for once in his life, and now, you know, he's a coach. A lot of talk over Rafa Puente and what he did in that team, and to be, I mean, if you do that with an all Mexican team, that's impressive. But will that be good enough to stay in first division? Because what happened with Leones Negros, what happened with Dorados, you know, these were teams that weren't well planned, I think. Yeah. And hopefully Lobos WAP can learn from those mistakes and try to, and it'd be nice. I mean, if it's a all Mexican team, maybe add one or two foreigners, kind of like what Pumas has been trying to do, that might be actually a good idea, a good route to take. Yeah. But they got to be really smart with those foreigners that they might bring into the team.
Yeah. I feel like we could talk for about like 40, I could talk for hours about the promotion relegation system and the likelihood of them. So let's we'll save that for another podcast. I want to squeeze in these last couple of topics before we wrap up. If you guys don't mind, we'll stick around for another like 5 or 6 minutes just to extend this a little bit. So one thing I want to talk about really quickly for a few minutes here is just Mexico's upcoming friendly. They're going to be taking on Croatia this Saturday in the LA Coliseum. Tom, I'm going to go to you on this. You know, just what should Juan Carlos Osorio what should he be looking for in this match? What should he be trying to achieve? What should he be trying to look for? I know he has some players missing. It's not going to include the full roster. You know, what should he be looking for in this match against Croatia?
I mean, obviously, you know, going up against Honduras and the States in the qualifying, I just think it's fine tuning tactical plans. I think he'll probably say in the press conferences that, you know, the similarities between Croatia and the States and then Ireland and the States, you know, and Croatia are coming with a team basically with only 4. They're only bringing 16 players. and 12 of the 16 are based in Croatia. So this isn't kind of Luka Modric's all-star squad. This is
unfortunately, because I'm going to be there, so that sucks.
Yeah, Luka has to focus on the Champions League, and on the Copa del Rey,
So yeah, I mean, I think it's more about fine-tuning than any massive, need to get a result. I mean, it's going to be good at the 65,000, around 65,000 in the LA Coliseum. It's going to be a great atmosphere. But I think these games are very much tune-ups for what comes after, which is the qualifiers, and then obviously for me the big one, which is the Confederations Cup. But let's see, and I think it's that the Confederations Cup that we'll start to see how much this team has developed in the year since the Copa America and what happened against Chile. I mean, I think that is where we're going to get a real test.
Nate, your quick thoughts on what we should be looking forward to, or what Juan Carlos Osorio is going to be trying to
we gotta emphasize the fact that there's 9 players in this list that will not go to the Confederations and that they'll probably go into the Gold Cup. These are players that perhaps Osorio has in mind, and he's sort of figuring out how he can integrate them into the final team, and if they can compete with the final, the main squad, which is a 23-man squad that will go to the Confe Cup. I think that team that goes to the Confederations Cup will be really similar to the team that we will see in the World Cup. Hopefully they can get the ticket this summer, but we gotta wait. But there ain't gonna be that many changes, But I think Osorio is still sort of thinking, well, for example, I think the case about Eddie Gutierrez is really interesting right now, because I think Eddie is the perfect replacement for Guardado. Guardado falls injured, who you go to? I think the perfect is Gutierrez, because he's left-footed. He plays on the same position as Guardado. It makes sense. And it's really interesting how he has used it. I mean, Guardado is undisputed. He's a captain or the vice captain after Rafa. So, of course, you're not going to remove him from the picture. But I think it's important to have that replacement ready just in case something happens with Guardado. I mean, look, Guardado got injured in the last, and when did he get injured? It was over there in the November games against the U.S. Yeah. Columbus, he got injured. And then after that, there was no replacement for Guardado. So I think it's important to nail that down moving forward. And also Burrito Hernandez is in the picture, new guy. We know what he can offer. In this show, we've expressed our opinion that he should be part of the national team. He gets his opportunity. So I think a lot of those 9 players will get a lot of minutes here. I think you don't want to see your main players get injured in these friendlies. So, I mean, of course, you want Nestor Araujo, for example, to play 45 and the other 45. You'll give, I don't know. I mean, mixed it around, not tire them out. I think you got to focus on the qualifiers and then think about the Confe Cup. These 2 friendlies are games for those 9 players that are probably going to play in the Gold Cup.
Yeah. All right. So just to wrap things up, just to close things out. By the way, just a thank you to everyone who was on the chat. Thank you to everyone who was watching today's show. We're gonna have Tom. Tom, you're gonna wrap things up. You're gonna have us give us a. Are you ready for this, Tom? Are you ready to wrap things up? It's just it's a daunting task. I just want you to know. But just let us know about a little bit about Mexico's U20s and maybe something to look forward to in the upcoming match against Germany.
Yeah, I think that obviously that it wasn't the best start against Vanuatu, but 3 points for Mexico. I don't think this under-20s team has been particularly hyped up. I don't think it's one of the best generations of Mexican players. That said, let's not forget that Cesar Montes could be in this squad. Also Jorge Sanchez from Santos Laguna and Eric Aguirre. So you got 3 players there that I think would be key players in this team. But the clubs didn't let him go, so that's the way it is. Got Edson Alvarez, obviously captain in the side, the big player, and I think up front they've got to really fire now because Ronaldo Cisneros and then Lalo Aguirre coming up against the Germans. You got to take your chances, and I think that Germany lost, didn't they, to Venezuela, so Mexico need a result definitely against Germany because I think the other teams will be beating Vanuatu more than 3-2.
It's a great test for the team. I mean, and then it's a great test also for the processes that go on in Mexico. We talk a lot, the U17, U20s. There's actually going to be a U20 final between Chivas and America. And I think that's going to be really exciting. We can't forget about that. Of course, Chivas against Tigres is the main dish in the main platter, but there's a super class, the Clásico Nacional in a U20 final. That'd be interesting to watch. It's a great test for Mexico, and we'll see how good this team can be or how not good it is, because if they lose to Germany, a lot of things will complicate, considering that Venezuela beat Germany already.
Yeah. Well, guys, something to keep an eye on. Be sure to watch that match. I have no idea what time that game's gonna be at, just because it's
6 a.m. Mexico time. So
boom,
that's
6
4
a.m.
a.m.
Mexico time. Bright and early for all of you guys who want to watch that. But guys, thank you again. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Naive. Thank you, Jason, for everything regarding the chat and also setting up the show. Thank you to everyone on the chat. And yeah, until next time, we'll see you all on the next version of the Mexican Soccer Show. Have a good night, guys.